Sultanate. The Slave Dynasty. Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Razia Sultana, Ghiyasuddin Balban. Qutbuddin Aibak. Aibak. Can you identify this monument? Yes, you are right. This is the Qutb Minar at Delhi, which was built by Qutbuddin Aibak. The construction of Qutb Minar was started by Qutbuddin Aibak but was completed by his slave Iltutmish. But do you know who was Qutbuddin Aibak? Qutbuddin Aibak was founder of Slave Dynasty in India. Now you must be thinking the meaning of Slave Dynasty, as slave literally means a servant who is owned by someone else. Then how can a slave become a ruler? Doesn't it sound interesting? Yes, it is. As all the rulers who ruled over India from 1206 to 1290 AD were either slaves or the sons of slaves, so their dynasty came to be known as the Slave Dynasty. The story began with the first slave ruler, Qutbuddin Aibak, who was a slave of Muhammad Ghori. He was appointed as the governor Ghori. But after the death of Muhammad Ghori in 1206 AD, he became the ruler of his Indian possessions. Aibak was a fearless soldier and an able ruler. So first of all, he set the newly created Islamic State in order and suppressed the revolts. He treated his subjects with justice and without discrimination between Hindus and Muslims. Aibak was a pious Muslim. He constructed two mosques, one at Delhi called Quwwatul Islam and the other in Ajmer called Dhai Din Ka Jhonpda. He also started construction of the Qutb Minar, which was later on completed by Iltutmish, who was his slave and successor. But in 1210 AD, he met a sudden end at Lahore as a result of a fall from a horse while playing polo. He was buried at Lahore. After the death of Qutbuddin Aibak, his slave Iltutmish became the ruler. Iltutmish, 1210 to 1236 AD. Iltutmish was a remarkably handsome and an intelligent man. He was a slave of Qutbuddin Aibak, but due to his capabilities, he reached the highest position during his tenure. So Aibak had married his daughter with him. Thus Iltutmish became son-in-law of Qutb and became his successor. But ascendancy to the throne was not an easy task. He ascended to the throne in 1210 AD after defeating the son of Qutb. Since Iltutmish was a slave and had now hereditary claim over the throne, his position was challenged from all quarters. So he was surrounded by enemies from all sides. The high Turkish nobles did not accept the rule of a slave. The other generals of Muhammad Ghori also challenged his authority. The defeated Rajputs also tried to free themselves from the Muslim state. But Iltutmish was a very wise ruler. So first of all, he satisfied the high Turkish nobles by parceling out territories among them. Then he defeated Rajput rulers of Ranthambore and Ujjain. He also crushed the power of his rivals and brought Bihar and Bengal under his control. he extended his Turkish empire up to the banks of the river Narmada. He was a great ruler. He was a savior of the Muslim empire in India due to his skillful and diplomatic nature. By his diplomacy and intelligence, Iltutmish stopped Genghis Khan from entering into Indian subcontinent. Iltutmish was basically a religious-minded person. He built up mosques at Badon and a fire tomb in red sandstone at Delhi. He also completed the Qutb Minar in Delhi. He found his daughter Razia Sultan more competent and nominated her as his successor, who has been the first and only Muslim ruler of India. Iltutmish died in 1236 AD. Razia Sultana. Iltutmish died in 1236 AD. Before his death, he nominated his daughter Razia Sultana as his successor to the throne, because according to him, none of his sons was capable of the throne. But his nobles did not like the idea, so they allowed his son Ruknuddin Feroz to succeed him on the throne of Delhi. But he proved completely inefficient and unworthy. So the nobles decided to choose Razia as their leader. Her task was not easy at that time because there was chaos and disorder in the country. But she set everything in order with her skill and intelligence. She was a brave and courageous lady. She always dressed like men, rode horses, and held darbars. In spite of all these qualities, her nobles did not like the idea of being ruled by a woman. She was killed in a revolt in 1240 AD. After the death of Razia, a number of less important sultans came to power, except Balban, who was a strong and an iron-willed sultan. Razia Ghiyasuddin 1266 Balban 1266 to 1286 AD. After the death of Nasiruddin Mahmud, Ghiyasuddin Balban ascended the throne in 6 to 1286 AD. After the death of Nasiruddin Mahmud, Ghiyasuddin Balban ascended 1266 to 1286 AD. At this time, he had to face a number of difficulties. His own Turkish chiefs, called the 40, became his enemies. Rajputs and Mongols were also not totally suppressed, but he worked like an iron man. He immediately crushed the 40 with a heavy hand and punished them mercilessly. To face the foreign dangers, he adopted the policy of a stern man, which is known as the policy of blood and iron. He took out his sword and used it against all the rebels, traitors, thieves, etc. In this way, he became successful in establishing peace and order in the country. Balban believed that his power as the king was absolute. He claimed himself to be the representative of God. None could challenge his power, as he believed in divinity of kingship. In order to raise the prestige of royalty in the minds of the people, he made his court both dignified and majestic. The nobles had to perform sijda before him. His spy system was also very successful. Life and property was completely protected. In this way, he proved to be the greatest of the slave kings. Balban died in 1286 AD. His successors were weak and inefficient. So, a Khilji noble named Jalaluddin Khilji captured the throne and laid the foundation of the Khilji dynasty. Thus, in 1290 AD, the Slave Dynasty came to an end.